Hello fellow woodworkers and welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop. This week we're going to be making a wooden Christmas tree to hold my candles. Roll the intro. So fellow woodworkers, before we start this week's project, I just want to give out a little bit of a disclaimer about the Garage Workshop. I had an email this week from a subscriber to the channel who was concerned about my lack of experience and some of the things that I've been doing in my Garage Workshop videos, which they felt other people might copy and it might be dangerous, or it might actually be dangerous for myself. And as I've said on this channel a number of times, this is not an instructional channel. This is for you to view as viewers and see the things that I go through as an amateur woodworker. Can I please ask you not to follow any of the skills or techniques you see in this video? You must use your own tools and do things the way that you feel comfortable doing. Right, let's get on with this week's project. So, following on from my earlier video on a wooden Christmas tree, we're back on the Christmas theme and again with a Christmas tree this week. This week we're going to be making a candle holder with a Christmas tree decoration on the back. Now in my household, candles are really popular. We always have some sort of candle burning somewhere in the house. And what I'd like to do is to create a wooden Christmas tree which also doubles up as a candle holder stand. Now there are loads and loads of videos on YouTube on how to make these. I've probably watched every single one there is, and what I'm going to do is put together the best things I've seen in all of them and create a candle holder which will be able to reflect the light from my candles. So the first stage is to select a piece of wood. Let's do that now. So after having looked through, I found a bit of old skirting board to use. As you can see, it is slightly kinked, but the next thing I did was set up a stop block and start cutting it down. I'll put the measurements for the 3 different sections of the tree in the description. And it is a little bit bowed, and as I got towards the end it was a bit flatter, but to be honest I'm not too worried about that because it will straighten out a little bit by default when it's glued. And actually I don't think it matters, I think we'll just give it a little bit of character. My hose kept falling off, I've got to do something about that. The next thing I did was I changed the angle to 30 degree. Now every angle on these cuts are all 30 degree cuts on both sides, and as you can see the stop block I've set up there is for the bottom piece. So I was just able to make the cut, flip it over and make the cut, and then it gave me that sort of trapezoidal shape that I needed. After I did that, I then marked off from all of those original sections that are all the same size, I then marked out the section for the middle, got a straight line so I knew where to draw it from, and then the bottom section. So it decreased in size on each occasion, and I had to make sure I got these right, so I did spend quite a bit of time ensuring that I got those measurements 100% correct, which I'm glad I did because at the end it all fitted really nicely. I then adjusted the stop block to allow for the fact that everything was a slightly different size. Before I did that I just made one cut on the edge with them all the original size, and then it allowed me to make the final cut on the opposite side and take that section off. I really took my time doing these cuts because I wanted to make sure that they were as clean as they can be, and as you can hopefully see, there was very little tear out on any of them, but I did take my time and I wanted to get the cuts as precise as they could be. The next thing I did was I marked on the sort of inlay bit, and it was actually, due to the measurements, it was about 1.6 centimetres or 16 mil that I put each side, and as you can see I'm just lining them up there to make sure I've got all the right sizes. And then I'm just finding the middle of the top section, which it was 10 centimetres, that top bit across the bottom line. When I did that, I put in a mark for my Biscuit Joiner. Now, I haven't used this on the channel, I don't think, yet. And it's one of those tools where you don't use it very often, and probably you don't often use it enough to justify having it. But for me, I've used it quite a lot. I used it when I made all my radiator covers in the house, and I've used it for different bits and bobs, different projects here and there, but it's the debut on the channel. It's the Erbauer model I got from Screwfix. I'll put a link in the description to it. it's a good product. It's not brilliant, and it's obviously not, you know, a Festal domino dowler, but it's good enough for what I want. I pressed a little bit too hard there. The smoke you can see is just where the inside of the wood is burning. Now, I did put a little bit of glue in, but to be honest with you, I wasn't sure how it was going to set, because at the moment in the UK we're having a real cold patch, and it was absolutely bitter, hence my deerstalker hat. But when I'd lined the two up, there was a little bit of fiddling with it just to get the lines lined back up again. And the thing about these biscuits, I've only got cheap biscuits from Lidl. They've got sort of edges on them, really, which they're not completely sanded flat. Sometimes you have to hand sand them to get them in, but if you don't get the edge the right way round, then it can throw the line off. But I got it all together. There's a little groove you can see at the back at the top there, and I did my best to get most of the glue that came out, the squeeze out, off as quickly as I could. The next thing I did was got a piece and off section of wood. You're going to see this wood again in an upcoming episode. I actually bought this wood for another project, and when I got to this stage I wanted a bit of a thicker wood for the base than the wood that I'd used for the actual Christmas tree. So I decided to just cut a section out of this, which was a little bit sort of khaki-handed, but it was okay. I then tried the next bit, which wasn't a brilliant success, to fill that gap in with a bit of wood glue and then just tap in some of the sawdust. But when I did it, I instantly thought, oh, I actually really don't like the look of that. But at the end, you can't see it. I then marked some holes in the base and marked corresponding holes in the bottom of the tree so that I could pre-drill the screw holes. I did think about gluing this or using the biscuit joiner, but to be honest with you, I wanted a bit more sort of security so that I could potentially lift the tree up with the base on it. So I thought the best thing to do was to use some screws, and I did that first of all, but when I'd done it I wasn't happy with how the screws were sitting. Apologies for the angle here, by the way. It's just me drilling through the holes into the base. I wasn't happy with how the screw was sitting, as you'll see in a minute, so I took them out and I actually put some really long screws in, which, you know, will give it the strength and the rigidity it needs. And actually all you're going to see at the end is just the screw head. So these were the first ones, and as you can see when I put them in, not really keen, so I switched them out for some much longer ones, and they went in a treat. And yes, you can see the head, but at the end I painted over that anyway, so you didn't really miss out on anything. Then I just gave it a quick sand, and after that I did paint it, but you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to make you watch paint dry, because I filmed it with my GoPro and it cut out and I lost the footage anyway. So I did paint it with some spruce green paint, just a little tester pot. So, fellow woodworkers, as you can see, this project is finished. It was very simple, straightforward project, and as I said, if you go on YouTube you can see dozens and dozens of videos where products like this are made. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out. When I put the base on, you will have seen in the video, I did put much longer screws in there than I'd originally anticipated, because I thought if it was completely strongly connected, then I would be able to pick it up and move it with the candle still sat in it. I did debate whether to put a sort of groove or a gouge in there for the candle to sit on, but to be honest, I haven't done that. And if I were to do that in the future, I think what I would do is cut out a shape and stick it on the top. It's had its coat of paint. Very pleased with how it looks. Again, like my Christmas tree that I made a few weeks back, which I'll put a link up there too. Very, very simple. It's taken me a couple of hours to make this, including all of the cuts. When I made the mitre cuts, I should have said at the time, it was a 30-degree angle. So all of these angles are 30 degrees. But this is a really, really simple project that anybody can do at home. If this is your first time at the Garage Workshop, please can I ask you to subscribe, and don't forget to like and comment and hit the notification bell. If you are a regular viewer, as always, thank you so much for your feedback and for continuing to support the channel. I'll catch you on next week's episode of the Garage Workshop. Take care, fellow woodworkers.